Welcome to day 14 of our school year. Let's go ahead and get down our beginning fraction. Our denominator is 180. That is our total amount of school days. Usually the total amount will be your denominator. And we are on day 14 of the school year. Now we're going to look at the numerator of 14 and ask, is it prime or composite? Well, it's an even number, and the only even number that is prime is 2. But you can also check on your prime number sieve and see that it's not circled. So that means it is composite, and we will have to do the prime factorization for your numerator and your denominator. So we're going to do our upside down division to find our prime factors. Okay, since it ends in a 0, I can divide by 5. It's one of our prime numbers, because you can remember your first 5 prime, 2, 3, 5, 7, 11. Those are the ones you're going to want to start with when you're doing your prime factorization. I can get 3 groups of 5 out of 18, then I'm left with 30. And that would be 5 times 6 gives me 30. Okay. 3 plus 6 is 9. 9 is a multiple of 3, so 36 is a multiple of 3. I can get 1 group of 3 out of 3 and 2 groups of 3 out of 6. Okay, this is even, so I can divide by 2. I get 6. As long as this number here is composite, I keep going till I have a prime number. I can divide by 3. I get 2. Okay, 2 is prime, so we're done with that. Now let's go ahead and do our prime factorization here. 14 is prime. is even. So I divide by 2. I get 7. 7 is prime. So we are done with our prime factorization there. So the prime factorization for my denominator is 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times 5. The prime factorization for my numerator is 2 times 7. So let's see what we have in common, what numbers we have in both the numerator and denominator that are being multiplied. And we have a 2 in common. So that means 2 is our greatest common factor, and that's the groups we're going to make. We're going to be left with a 7 in the numerator. I keep misspeaking today. Then 2 times 3 is 6 times 3 is 18 times 5 is, 90. So we're going to have 7/90ths when we're done. Okay, let's go ahead and put everything into groups of 2. Does not matter what your groups look like, as long as you have 2 in each group and you do not have shaded mixed in with unshaded. They need to be kept all the shaded together and all the unshaded together. Because what you will have if you mix them together is fractions inside fractions. And that is a far more complex problem than we need. Okay, once we are done, let's figure out how many total groups we have. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 groups of 2 in each row, so I'm going to count by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90 total groups. And how many groups are shaded in? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, now we're going to prove it with our algorithm. We're going to divide by our greatest common factor. Okay. 180 divided by 2. Well, I know 2 times 50 will give me 100. Okay. Numbers the same, zeros the game. More on top, no need to stop. Numbers the same, zeros the game. I'm going to bring 80 up here. 2 times 40 will give me 80. Numbers the same, zeros the game. Okay, add our partial quotients together, we get 90. Now, see, I know, now my numerator, 14 divided by 2. I know that 5 times 2 is 10. More on top, no need to stop. Numbers the same, zeros the game. Bring the 4 up. 2 times 2 is 4. Numbers the same, zeros the game. Add my partial quotients, I get 7. You could have gotten to these answers more quickly, but I want you to see that you can use what you know to get to your solution, even if you don't know all your multiples and factors. All right, now we have to check. Divisor times quotient plus remainder, divisor times quotient plus remainder. But since on both of these our remainder is 0, and the identity property of multiplication says when you add 0, it stays the same, we don't need to worry about that. Okay. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 9 is 18. 2 times 7 is 14. 180 matches my dividend here. 14 matches my dividend here. So they both check. That means my numerator is definitely 7. And my denominator is definitely 90. Now let's go ahead and fill in our data collection page. Okay, trimester 1, week 4. Today is 8/27/19, and our fraction for today is 7/90. Let's go ahead and get out our number line. We did groups of 2. So the last one I have listed is 1/90. Then we have 1 2 pieces, so we need to get down 2/90, which is equivalent to 1/45. 3/90, which is equivalent to something in the 3's and all the way down to 1/30. 4/90, which is equivalent to 2/45. 5/90, which is equivalent to something in the 5's and 1/18. 6/90, which is equivalent to something in the 3's, the 4's, the 6's, and 1/15. And 7/90. There's nothing below it, but there is just the one above it, 14/180. So this is our equivalent fraction in lowest terms, or our simplest form. Okay, let's go ahead and put our number line away, erase the worksheet, and thank you for joining me.